movie death is part and parcel of the horror movie experience, which is why it's called horror movie death, interestingly enough. But you spin that wheel, you push that needle too far over to one side, and you end up with too much death. You end up with too many characters dead, you end up with no film because you've got no characters to carry it, and just one guy with an axe running around going, hey, let me chop you up, but there's nobody to chop up. So, horror movies give us the gift of rebirth. They bring their characters back to life in the most weird and convoluted ways to try and make it fit and make sense. And oh boy is it good, there's so many entertaining ways this has happened across the whole history of the horror genre, so let's take a dive, shall we? Let's jump into this pool of nonsense, swim around, drink it up a bit, spit it out, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So yeah, here you go. I am the immortal Ash from What Culture. You're watching Ash vs. the Evil Wed, and these are the 10 craziest ways horror movie characters have been brought back from the dead.
10. Ringu by videotape. At the centre of this Hideo Nakata film is the tormented spirit of Sadako Yamamura. Thrown down a well to her death, which, you know, might make you want to come back from the dead for a firm word with those responsible as well, Sadako is conjured from a watery grave courtesy of an eerie videotape. Upon somebody watching said tape, the undead presence of Sadako chillingly stumbles out of a TV screen with nefarious thoughts on her mind. The original movie was creepy then, is creepy now, and will forever be the stuff of creepy nightmares for so many of us. Not the least for its solid Western remake too, and it's thanks to Sadako's haunting refusal to stay dead that it remains so pervasive. Considering that Sadako gets herself into this undying state through her mad psychic powers and uses the dated media as a way of channeling her rage, that sheer force of will brought her back to be cursed to old VHS tapes is both terrifying and a little sad, considering how much more mileage she'd have gotten from a DVD, at least. 9. The Frighteners by Being Happy. While he'd already directed offerings such as Bad Taste, Brain Dead, and Heavenly Creatures, it was 1996's The Frighteners that put Peter Jackson on the radar of many casual moviegoers. A horror comedy headlined by Michael J. Fox, The Frighteners ticked so many of the right boxes on its way to becoming a true cult classic. After Jake Busey and Dee Wallace's twisted twosome are finally sent packing to hell during the film's final acts, The Frighteners finds Fox's Frank Bannister in the afterlife, talking to his deceased wife. It's a poignant, heartfelt moment, and it's the instructions of his dead partner which see Frank being able to return to the land of the living. Deborah instructs her husband to simply be happy, and with that, Frank is resurrected and able to move on with a life alongside his new partner. Well dang! If only it were that easy, hey? Shout out to his planned resuscitation from hypothermia for another gnarly resurrection in this movie too. 8. The Crow. Brought to life by a crow. It might be stretching it just a little to label The Crow a fully fledged horror offering, but the brutal murder of a loved-up couple and the clinical revenge which followed it are definitely tinged with elements of the horror genre. Plus, you know, The Crow as a character looks like a total badass and is an icon to goths the world over, so he's coming to stay. A year after the murder of two lovebirds, Brandon Lee's Eric Draven is brought back to life thanks to a crow chipping away on his headstone. From there, Eric embarks on the sort of glorious roaring rampage of revenge that would make Kill Bill's bride proud. 3 sequels would follow, all having similarly crow-induced resurrections. So if you think you're taking a one-way trip to Deadsville, you better hope no nosy birds go poking about your resting place once you're settled. It's a surefire way of waking back up, apparently. 7. Child's Play 3. Mixed into a vat of plastic. In terms of contrived resurrections, they don't get much more convenient than Chucky's return in 1991's Child's Play 3. After being killed 8 years prior at the close of the second Child's Play picture, Chucky returned in a rather unique way during the opening moments of Child's Play 3. The end of Child's Play 2 saw this good guy doll part melted and then have his head blown off, and the threequel film finds the site of Chucky's death untouched since the happenings of that second movie. In Child's Play 3, Playpals decides to once more stop producing good guy dolls. The only problem is, the remains of Chucky end up mixed in with a vat of plastic designed to create these new toys. As such, the blood of the evil Charles Lee Ray embeds itself into a new good guy doll and once again takes on the Chucky mantle as he continues his murderous ways. The whole killer doll thing aside though, imagine being on the receiving end of a plastic doll pumped full of human viscera. No thank you. 6. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master. Dog urine. The Nightmare series doesn't really go a ways to explaining Freddy's various deaths and reappearances at the best of times. Just that he frickin' loves dreams and killing children, so will do it whenever the hell he pleases. Perhaps when this gets taken to the illogical extreme, however, is the fourth entry in the series, the Dream Master. Drawing the last remaining Elm Street children into his nightmarish domain for his stabby revenge on the parents that murdered him, Kincaid finds himself in the junkyard where Freddy was buried all but a movie ago. His dog has come along for the ride because they share dreams, as all besties do, and upon relieving itself on the spot where Freddy's bones lie, a jet of fire comes out and wakes the blade-fingered menace up. Eh? Did Freddy really just get resurrected via dog piss? I guess he did, guys. I guess he did. 5. Alien Resurrection. Cloned. Just how do you bring back your long-dead franchise hero for a sequel set 200 years after her demise? Oh, that's a pickle. But hey, since you're so far in the future with a whole 2 centuries past, you can take the cloning route, of course. And that is exactly how the Alien franchise got around Ellen Ripley's death in Alien 3. Alien Resurrection explained how Ripley had actually been cloned by scientists to make its title fit. This Ripley 8 was also spliced with DNA of the alien queen in order to essentially become impregnated with a xenomorph too. Just to spice everything up a bit, I guess. All of this does sound a tad nuts though, right? So nuts that it came as no surprise that Alien Resurrection resulted in the franchise eventually being spun towards the Alien vs Predator concept. But I will hear no bad words about that here, so we'll swiftly move on. 4. Pumpkinhead. Witchcraft. Goddamn, 1988's Pumpkinhead is all kinds of fun. Cheesy, a bit naff, and very much of its time, sure. But still, the film manages to maintain a certain camp charm upon a present-day rewatch. Lance Henriksen's Ed Harley is a desperate man in Pumpkinhead. After his son is killed, Ed seeks out assistance from a slightly ropey witch. His aim is for the witch to use her powers to bring back his fallen son. Only, the witch refuses to do this, and instead she puts a plan in motion for the vengeance-seeking, demonic Pumpkinhead to rise once more. As we see by the time the first movie concludes, Pumpkinhead is by all accounts and purposes a cyclical being who is used as a tool of revenge and bloodshed. Woken up with a bit of blood and a sprinkle of magic, it is both a resurrection and a transformation, resulting in one of the most lastingly underrated monsters in horror movie history. 3. Pet Sematary. Ancient Burial Ground. For a while there, one of the most regularly visited tropes of the horror genre was the use of an ancient burial ground. While something like Poltergeist chose to explore the monetary greed of building over such a site, Pet Sematary, originally a 1983 novel from the legendary Stephen King, opts to use a burial ground as a way to reanimate the dead. Initially used to bring back dead pets, it doesn't take long before the tale uses its central MacGuffin to pose questions about whether or not it's right and proper to give in to our heartache and bring back our own deceased loved ones. In particular, that original movie sees the young son of the Creed family buried in a cemetery site and brought back to life after he was tragically mowed down by a truck. Of course, things don't go exactly smoothly, with the resurrected Gage Creed being a murderous, demented brat. Sometimes dead is better. But that doesn't make for a very good resurrection list now, does it? 2. Jason Goes to Hell. Consuming Jason's putrid heart. Many thought the Friday the 13th franchise had jumped the shark with the cheese-tastic Jason Takes Manhattan. But Jason Goes to Hell makes Manhattan look like a masterpiece of the genre by comparison. One of the biggest problems that many horror fans have with Jason Goes to Hell is that this is a Friday the 13th movie that barely features Jason Voorhees. Well, in physical form at least, for the spirit of Jason is present throughout the entirety of the film. In the 9th entry in the Friday the 13th series, the film opens with Jason being trapped and blown to pieces by the FBI. Once at the morgue, however, the spirit of Jason possesses a coroner and makes him eat the heart of the hockey mask-adorned killer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the totally bonkers way that Jason Goes to Hell brings Jason Voorhees back to life. The aforementioned spirit is then passed from body to body, meaning that while Jason is technically alive throughout Jason Goes to Hell, he is not in the hulking body that we've seen across the rest of the Friday the 13th franchise. 1. Event Horizon. Brought back by a sentient spaceship. Right from the get-go, there is a sense of uncertainty towards Sam Neill's Dr. Billy Weir, and any suspicions about the character are proved completely justified by the time the picture comes to a close. The main antagonist of Event Horizon, of course, is the Event Horizon vessel. A sentient spaceship changed from a trip to hell, the Event Horizon torments and terrifies its crew with gnarly hallucinations and calculated suggestions. Possessing Neill's Weir was bad enough from the Event Horizon, yet this demonic ship goes one further and actually brings Weir back to life in the film's closing moments, as well as a whole host of other demonic visions to torture its inhabitants with too. I can't think much stranger than a giant, sentient, hell-stained spaceship being the cause of your return to life, to be honest. Thank you for the nightmares, Mr. Anderson.
And that's our list. Thank you so much for joining me on this weird and wonderful foray into the world of resurrection. I hope you had a lovely time. I hope it's really reinvigorated you. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, sacrifice your firstborn child to the overlords of what culture. Please head on over. I'll see you there. Bye.